So today I'll be showing an $800 full setup featuring Ryzen 5 and the RX 580. This setup will allow you to game at 1080p without any issues. This is the Hardware Hub, and without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. So before we start, I would like to quickly mention I have links to everything in the description, so check that out if you're interested. But with that out of the way, let's get into the build itself. To start it off for the CPU, I went with the AMD Ryzen 5 2600 for $120. This is a 6-core 12-thread CPU that comes clocked at 3.4 GHz with a boost clock of 3.9 GHz. Now I know what you're thinking, why didn't I go for a 3600? Well, the main thing is price. The 2600 comes in at $120, which is around $80 cheaper than the MSRP for the 3600, which is around $200. Now even then, this is a great CPU for gaming, and can also do content creation tasks easily as it has 12 threads. It's also unlocked, so you can easily overclock it to max out its potential. Most of these CPUs can hit around 4.0 or at least 3.8 GHz, which is pretty nice. So even though this is maybe one generation old, it still offers great bang for your buck. Now for the motherboard, I went with the MSI B450M BAZOOKA V2 for $82. This is a micro ATX motherboard with 4 RAM slots, 4 SATA 6GB/s ports, and an M.2 slot. It's a B450 motherboard and has nice VRM heatsinks, so overclocking on this is not going to be an issue. It also has AM4 sockets, so of course in the future you can upgrade to the 3000 series CPUs, so if you want like an 8-core 3700X, this motherboard is going to support it. So for the price, you're getting a very nice mid-range motherboard. Now for the RAM, I went with the G-Skill Aegis 16GB set for $60. Ryzen and the Infinity Fabric really benefit from multi-channel and high-frequency RAM, so it's nice to go with a kit like this, which is dual-channel and is clocked at 3000 MHz. 16GB is a good amount for gaming nowadays, as most games use over 8GB but less than 16, so it's nice to have 16 as it will be more than enough for what games demand. 16GB of RAM also allows you to multitask, so you can have like 20 Chrome tabs open and it's not going to fill up your RAM. It's also going to be enough for you to do some moderate video editing, so all around this RAM kit is a great fit into this PC. Now for the storage, I went with both an SSD and a hard drive. Now for the SSD, we have the 512GB ADATA Ultimate SU800 for $58. The SSD is going to be there for your OS and all of your applications. Now SSDs have faster loading times and are more reliable than your hard drive, so it's nice to put all of your applications on there and important files, as loading times will be better for your applications and OS, and if you put important files on here, they're more likely to be safe as SSDs rarely fail. Now with SSD prices so cheap right now, I think it's mandatory that you have an SSD in your PC. So altogether, this is a great SSD for a great price. Now the hard drive I decided to go with is the Western Digital CAVIAR Blue 1TB for $43. This is a basic hard drive that spins at 7200 RPM and has 64 MB of cache. Now I think that the SSD by itself is a little bit limiting, so it's nice to have this hard drive because it has very low price per gigabyte and it's going to be there for your mass storage, like storing all of your games and big media files. So there's not much more to say, it's really just going to be there simply because it's cheap and it has a lot of storage for all of your files. And for the graphics card, arguably one of the most important parts of a gaming PC, I went with the POWERCOLOR RX 580 for $180. This comes clocked at 1257 MHz with a boost clock of 1350 MHz. Now as you can see in the picture, this is definitely a very beefy GPU, so overclocking is not going to be an issue. You can easily push the clock speed up and get more performance out of this. Now this card comes with 8GB of VRAM, which is more than enough for gaming at 1080p max settings in the latest games, and is also enough for some entry level 1440p gaming. Now when it comes to games, this can push 1440p, but I think it really shines at 1080p because it can max out most games with close to 60 FPS. So altogether, it's a great bang for the buck video card from AMD. Now for the case, I went with the COUGAR MX330 for $40. This is one of my favorite mid-range cases as it looks pretty nice and comes with a PSU shroud and filtered fan mounts. Now the side panel does look like it's tempered glass, but it's actually acrylic, but that doesn't mean it doesn't look nice. Now this is pretty spacious for a mid-tower, so you can definitely fit in pretty large GPUs and large CPU coolers without an issue. Cable management is also pretty nice as it does have a PSU shroud and space behind the motherboard to hide your cables. So for the price, you're definitely getting a mid-range case that has a bunch of nice premium features. For the power supply, I went with the 500 watt Seasonic for $45. This is an 80 plus bronze rated unit that has two 8 pins. Having two 8 pins is nice as it doesn't limit you when it comes to upgrading GPU, as a lot of mid-range GPUs really do require two 8 pins or at least two 6 pin connectors. Now this power supply is not modular, but it has all black cables which look pretty sleek, and at this price point I don't think that modularity is a big issue. Seasonic makes some nice PSUs and this is no exception. For the operating system, I went with Microsoft Windows 10 for $40. Now this choice is pretty self-explanatory. Now you can get this key for $40 on Microsoft Software Swap, which is pretty nice since this is a retail copy, which means that you'll be able to reuse your Windows key if you change out your motherboard or if you make any major hardware changes. If you want to save some money, you could go with an OEM key like the $27 ones we see on Penguin, but if you go with one of those keys, if you change your motherboard or make any major hardware changes like changing out your CPU, you might have to rebuy Windows. I think that for most people, it's worth it to spend $40 for a retail key and not have to worry about potentially buying Windows again after you make a major hardware change. And for the monitor, I went with the Acer SB220Q for $90. Now this is a pretty nice monitor with a resolution of 1080p and a 75Hz refresh rate. 1080p is still the optimal gaming resolution for mid-range gamers, as most mid-range PCs can max out games at 1080p, which is a very nice experience. The 75Hz refresh rate is above the 60 that we usually see in most monitors, and it will make your PC experience a little smoother and give you an edge in first-person shooters where every frame matters. This monitor also has an IPS panel, so you'll get great viewing angles and colors with this monitor. So altogether, it's a pretty great bang for your buck monitor. Now for the keyboard and mouse, I went with the Cooler Master Devastator 3 keyboard and mouse bundle for $30. This is a basic keyboard and mouse set that includes a colored backlit. Now the backlit on the keyboard can be changed between 7 preset colors, which is nice because you can change the color of the keyboard to match your setup. I've personally been using the first generation version of the Devastator and can confidently recommend it to others for gaming and typing, and can also say that it will last a decent amount of time as my current set that I have is in pretty good condition. Now after seeing that entire setup, you're probably wondering, how will this perform? Well, this can easily max out the latest games at 1080p with close to 60 FPS. Of course, there are some exceptions where you will have to turn down the settings to hit 60 FPS, but you're going to have exceptions with pretty much any CPU and GPU combo at any resolution. But despite that, this will definitely give you a great experience and is pretty much the optimal experience for a 1080p gamer. Now if you have any questions about this setup or PC building in general, please leave a comment down below and I'll answer you down there. Before we end this video, I would like to quickly mention that I have links to everything in the description, so check that out if you're interested. But yeah guys, that's all for today. If you liked the video, please be sure to hit the like button. If you didn't like it, please dislike this video and subscribe for more content. And I'll see you guys in the next one.